into the game with our casters to take us in and be our eyes in the sky.
So much, Zeke, Reese, and Shio. This is Game 5 of 6 here in Day 1 of the FNCS Season 4. Oh my goodness, I am Sancho West alongside with Sundown, and we've been seeing a lot of thoughts on the analyst desk, but what we like to see is the thoughts turn into action. And boy, oh boy, we've got all the action here as Mongrel is actually on the zip line as we're flying right over him. And here we go. What a strong performance from Queasy, Milan, and Chapix. And where they land is all the way up north at Craigie Cliffs. And that is such a strong spot. And we've been seeing different regions, Sundown, such as the NA East of Zexro and them utilize that stronghold.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest benefits around Craggy in particular, again, I don't want to harp on it too much or harpoon on it too much, but those fishing spots in plenty around the outside. There's an upgrade bench that's right there as well, super easily accessible. And again, we talk about kind of the changes in particular to this season around the map, and the lack of metal that comes from cars has actually hurt a lot of different drop spots. However, Craggy has so much innate metal built around it that it makes it not only efficient to farm up, but allows you to really pour resources into that upgrade bench and get the loadouts you want. That's why you kind of see these guys, they never are really left wanting in terms of utility, and will always have the power weapons on the players who kind of want them. And so far, it's largely been Chapix right at the end making the plays.
And also, you know, the ability to hold on to their shields, because they could utilize these slurp barrels here, the slurp kegs, and get all that additional shield. At the same time, we mentioned it in the previous game, there's a rift right there on the north side. It's just out in the frame. They have the ability to third-party a lot of the stronghold, and I did see in the feed that they were able to pick up a knock on Mitro's trio up there on Starks. But here it is. We go from up north all the way down south, and this Train Hard trio is still having a decent day. 23 points, looking strong. Again, the top 15 qualify, and they get a nice knock there on Shine. And we've seen in other regions that the Misty Meadows trios are still a very strong trio, just like up there at Craigie Cliffs.
Yeah, and again, the lake right nearby it, allowing for tons of the fishing spots. There's plenty of chests to be able to support a trio if you can force out the other one. And again, a decent amount of mats that are available. The one negative is I don't think you get as easy of a rotation having to go kind of up that waterfall. It cuts out a few available rotation paths.
And also, as well as Clement's trio, who did qualify last week, is not fighting today. So whoever qualifies out of there who's landing that POI, knowing that to deal with that. But everybody's going to have to deal with this one right here. Krezix, 4ZR, and Nate. Such a strong trio, doing really well in week 1. Now bringing it over here in week 2. I mean, there's so much you can say about this. This is the week 1 winners. They took home the first on the back of all-around incredible performance. And they have so much work that they did. They had 67 elims, and they were tied with Mex's trios for the most 10-point games with 9. So very dangerous. And I think the reason why Reese picked them Sundown is look at it. Easy living, easy breezy. No one taking shots at them. They're just taking the time, looting up and farming up.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen just time and time again how while the Mythic POIs are incredibly strong, in getting them uncontested can result in a lot. Consistently having an uncontested drop spot or an uncontested major POI really often leads into at least a guaranteed transition from mid to late game. It's super hard to get caught out in those circumstances just because you have so much priority on the map in terms of mats, in terms of resources. And right now you can see Savage picking up a knock onto Kefi, which to me indicates, as we see here, not taking the early fight, instead going on for one of those scavenger routes, finding another side, which I'm hoping that they're able to execute on this. But right as we talk about this, you can see a number of players flying in, those purple triangles on the right-hand side. Savage is about to get ambushed.
Oh, no, and that could be Chapix. You know, Chapix had that ability to hit that kind of let's take a look at who it is. We still don't know who is kind of slow. It's actually Aqua. They said, you can't run away from us. We're not going to let you get away. We're not going to let you get the momentum. We're going to let you be on the bottom of the board because we all qualify. You only have 9 points. You got a lot of work to do, Benji, and that is going to be a big irritant right now. Irritant into the run. Here he comes. Ooh, just misses with the highlight. Aqua's out here feeling it. He's flexing, Sundown. He is straight flexing and maxing these amazing runs right now.
Yeah, and I don't know. That was Eddie Gordo from the top shelf. He could have just dropped down. Instead, it was the frog leap right on top of Savage. Missed it with the pump, but going to be able to follow that one up. And it says it doesn't matter where you run. Doesn't matter if you try and hide. We'll hunt you down. Don't care if there's other teams nearby because, as you said, they qualified in that week 1, so they're just trying to make their lives as hard as possible.
Is it love? Is it love, though? Is it a strange way of showing affection? You could run, you could hide, but you cannot escape Aqua's love. Is it so, Sundown?
I mean, there's not a small difference between love and hate when you talk about the actual emotions when you go through of it. But in this circumstance, there is 0% love. This is 100% just spite and trying to condition that drop spot and saying, we know where you are. We know where your pivot drop spot is. And even if you try and avoid us, you're still close enough where we have the utility from Dooms to come out and make it worth our while. And they're going to dance on them a little bit. And honestly, if I'm Benji, Savage, and Letchi, I don't think you pivot to a spot where you're so close to somebody who's able to capitalize on you. Go Slurpee. Go anywhere else on the map, not somewhere where the one team who you've been contesting and fighting over and over again can dive bomb on top of your head with shockwaves.
Yeah, and I got to point this out. They did make this pivot in day 1 and week 1. So that is not something that all of a sudden nowhere they just decided to do. They've done this before, and it just shows you the homework that these pros are doing. Aqua and Noah Riley and Rezon were able to understand that, hey, if Benji's trio's not here, that means they're up north out there hanging out by the lighthouse. So this is it. Chapek's trio joins Falconer from the NA West, King from Brazil, and Modest from Middle East as the only teams with back-to-back wins. And we haven't talked about this, Sundown, but King squad, King's trio, 11 out of the 12, that's a lot of back-to-backs.
Yeah, and I think it was 7 in a row there before they finally ended up dropping a game. And when they did, they were just so shocked when Siyun had actually ended up being taken out there that they didn't really know what to do. But I don't particularly want to get started on King because I will quite literally talk about the entire broadcast and nothing else about how good this kid is. But just for those of you who aren't aware, King is a 14-year-old Argentinian who has recently moved to the Zero Ping in Brazil. His trio won 11 out of 12 of the final matches last week. Woo. He got 5th at the World Cup finals, and he is utterly disgusting. If you ever want to go watch a region that isn't your home region, as we hop on board here to Mexi, Astro, and Exponential, getting the shakedown and trying to close out the fight here, if you're ever going to watch a region that isn't your own region and you're looking for an exciting gameplay, just go find King. Whether it's a Cash Cup or the FNCS or even just some of his arena games, this kid is disgusting. He is so freaking good at the game, and I think the biggest part now and the difference between his growth from the World Cup is he's grown to know kind of when he needs to take the half second to wait. In the World Cup, he didn't know it. In the World Cup, he knew, go, fight, go fight, shoot, more elims, yay, awesome points. Now he knows when he needs to take that half second to wait in a cone because he can win that 1v1 harder and make the end game placements. And I think that level of maturity out of him as a player is really going to raise himself up. But now we're going to talk over to a very mature and veteran player on board here with E11's Boyer playing with Kezher and co. Already sitting on 20 points, so decent kind of performance on the day. Not amazing, but still in contention to be relevant. Does have the shockwaves as well as a legendary TAC SMG, so a little hurting on loadout here.
Yeah, they're around the 20s, and in the top 15 qualify. And just above them is names like Refsguard, Stompy, and Ska. Flick and Nos and Thomas HD are just on the bubble. They already qualified, but they're around that 15. And when it's set lobby, we haven't really talked about this out there, old folks, is that the elims, the placement points, or they could be swallowed up by the people that are already in the top 15. So that's going to make it harder and harder for the people in the middle of the pack, the people that haven't found their footing, people on the bottom, as you see the even like it's crazy to say the sense that the Benjis right there who are sitting with single digits here. But it's just the start. It's just the beginning. There's a lot to work out. And Mexi right now and Harp by Astro, already a squad that's qualified. I think they're experimenting. They're kind of taking these fights. They know they could afford it, but I think that's going to be the strong suit of the people that kind of get in early. They could afford this experimentation. They could afford to see what they can do, experiment with different pivot POIs, experiment with different drops, because we've seen that, you know, a team as strong as Clement at Misty Meadows is not here today, but you're going to know that they're going to be there into the heats, which is the next wave, which is going to come up very, very soon.
Yeah, and it's about trying to find the space that you can get and knowing how to work around it, because it's not only the initial drop, it's where you go after that, who's going to be pathing there, the best way to refresh your resources, what campfires are on the way. Like, all of these kind of play a factor, and the farther you are from the center of the zone, the more of that information that you have to know from your drop spot. So I'm a huge advocate, if you have a very far outside drop spot as your initial one, your secondary drop spot should be somewhere interior on the map. Just eliminate a large portion of the information that you have to know, because then the only additional burden for you is figuring out the internal rotations, which most of these players, when you're playing at this level, will know at least pretty well. And then particularly when you're heading back to your drop spot, it becomes easier. But now on board here, Michael, Snappy, Wakey, just rotating around the outside, trying to find a little space, hitting that campfire. So now we're on board here with the top of Stark, and it's our current leaders, Chapix, Queasy, and Milan. Over on the side here, you have Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson just above them. Talked about it a little bit before here. Some room coming through, some snipe coming out, but not necessarily anything being converted on right now. Chapix being the Swedish player. Queasy is from Serbia. And then Milan, I think, is either Latvian or also from Serbia. Let me double check. Nope, he's from the Netherlands. I lied. He's Dutch. As you can see here now, trying to find a little bit of space, but they've been so consistent making every one of these late game situations. However, we haven't seen them in a ton of early game fights. However, Blended Kids is going to get tossed in the blender by Milan, doing a good job to find the shot there. Chapix gets taken down, but they're going to find the second one there before they're able to convert on it. Going to opt to shockwave everyone out in a way. However, oh, the chunk splash! That was sick! Well done. I was going to say Chapix is going to get converted on, which could be a really, really big error in this fight, particularly in a 3v1 situation. However, the chug splash, saving it over just in time. The revive coming through as well from Crazy. However, can they clean up this fight when they're at a disadvantage? They have Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson at their front, another team at their back, and the Storm behind them. What can they do here?
Oh, man, what a bad situation. They already were dealing with Storm Surge. That's why they took the fight. But the neighboring trio right here of Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson were right then and there, and that got their attention. And once they saw that someone went down, they went and pushed. But wow, what a great recovery. And this is going to be a montage to this recovery as they go ahead and shock on out. The beams are going out. Any beams going down? Let's see. They all survive! Chapix is barely alive with a sliver of HP, and they kind of get away from the deadly trio of Mongrel. What a great play and recovery. We've seen the fundamentals of gatekeeping, but that was a masterclass performance of avoiding those gatekeepers, Sundown.
That was so freaking good, and their ability to quickly get together and execute on the push. However, I was going to say, really smart play from Milan for a second, boxing up and then turning with that legendary AR to kind of put some pressure on them. However, he left and then went down further on the low ground with no additional material, and Mongrel hits a monstrous shot onto himself while they made a really good job to disengage after the fact. Because they've been separated so much and already used their Shockwave, they couldn't get back together to use them again, and it's going to put them in a scramble situation. I would have rather seen Milan hold fast on that corner and at least pressure them out, because he's going to get stuck in the fight regardless. Trying to stick a revive here on top of Queasy, but not going to end up happening. Instead, Shakedown coming through there. Conversion will be done, and for the first time so far today, our #1 team, they won back-to-back matches. They haven't placed worse than 4th. Right now, we see a player down early, and Chapix is down bad as well. Milan, I mean, they barely have 100 HP combined between the two of them. So if they get caught out, they get lobby focused, that's going to be it.
And oh my goodness, the aggressive play from Mongro's trio, and that is what they do. I mean, in zones 1, they have about 31% elims, so no doubt they keep their heads and their eyes looking around them. That is a known spot that they like to rotate to. Once they loot and farm up the main building of Stark, they sit right then and there to look for people rotating through, and they were able to catch a big fish. That was our current #1 spot, already losing 1 and in shambles. But now we're taking a look at Rezon in shambles. Down he goes, and this is that strong height opportunity. It's just beaming on down as you see the Stark energy rifle. But Matzo, Amplify, ADN has been one of those trios that we highlighted, the style of playing low ground. I know this isn't in-game, but you kind of get a little taste of it where it's not as so chaotic. You can see how effective it can be sitting with the ground on your feet. You can kind of avoid these situations of people beaming on down. You could look around, you could work together, and we talked about the theme of the day, Sundown, is fighting hip to hip. And Train Hard's trio has been fighting hip to hip, and that is why they've already qualified, but they're here to put another staple game here in week 2, game 1.
And if you're looking to get better as a trio, if you're watching this and whether or not you're somebody just getting interested in comp or somebody who is just on the outside looking in, one of the biggest thing, and what do we mean by hip to hip? And we mean not being more than a box away from each other. Even in this situation, I would say Chapix and Milan are staying a little too far away, because if something like that happens, Chapix is unable to cover Milan. Thank you for perfectly describing my point, particularly when you are that low HP. Granted, Chapix could have maybe edited that wall and allowed him to get out and re-edit it. It would have been such a small window of execution, but you don't even give yourself a chance if you're not able to react to your teammate. And there's so few opportunities for players to effectively nuke an entire box. The propane tank is really one of the few ways. It's either that or a crash pad or a 3-man shockwave. And because most people shave crash pads and shockwaves to rotate, then if you're able to just sit in a box and continue to find space together, you win so many more of these fights than when you don't do that.
The back-to-back victory royales goes down. The three-peat is on the brink of being over, as you're seeing Chapix, the last remaining member of that trio, surrounded by so much, but we have not even highlighted this yet. Looming in the distance, we've already seen it in game 1 of week 2 here, of round 3 being a big factor, and that is the elevation of Stark Industries. It's rearing its ugly head, and let's see where it's about to pull here as Zone 5 goes up and over. So Blaster, Alpha, Nikov, all have to solve this issue. This is going to be a problem, and already I don't see any utility in Blaster. I got to know if Alpha and Nikov have that utility, because a lot of mats are about to be burned as they pull max pull. Ooh, they find Chapix finally. Chapix was going to hang out by the trash can as much as possible and try to salvage this run as much. Oh my, but he gets recycled. And out he goes, and they close out that story. No three-peat, Dunzo, over.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure we are hanging out on Blaster's point of view, because when you take those secret passageways and when you come out of the trash can, it makes a noise. I'm 95% sure he had heard that noise and knew a player was hanging out down there and just waiting to see what happened and if they're anywhere else. But you talked about it rearing its ugly head. There's the Stark Industries and everyone being forced to use their builds to get up it early. And now I think the real key is, where does Zone 6 go? Because if Zone 6 pulls east and off of the side, it's going to get real interesting real fast on who has priority position. Right now, the question is, who is on height and looking down the rest of the lobby? We can see Sick, Slove, and Antarek have a decent opportunity on height. However, somebody's right above them.
Analyx goes down the feed. Janice is still up, taking out Blaster. Deceptos takes another elim and knock. Mongro gets one and squeeze, so that trio right there, Giannis, unable to find their footing here in this matchup. They finally qualified, getting into round 3. They're having issues here in week 2. That's one of a consideration for the picks here in the analyst desk. And there it is. Makes another appearance, and boom, big explosions. No elims this time around, but I like the strats out there. If you got it, you might as well just use it. But let's see where zone pulls again in zone 6. Thankfully, oh my, okay, I wasn't saying thankfully it doesn't go off the island, but it goes up a mountain. So the problems keep amplifying here, Sundown, as zones get revealed.
I'm honestly, I'm more okay with this if I'm a player.
Yes.
If it goes off of the side and has the potential to pull back over, you're just kind of effectively out of the game if you're forced to over-rotate off. The one thing I want to keep an eye on, at least in terms of me, is the fact that they're running charged shotguns. So these box-to-box fights are going to be really difficult, but if they get a window like that where they're both able to kind of sneak the shot off, they have so much damage that they can insta-burst people outside of the range of the pump. So that's what they're going to be looking to do. You notice how anytime they're on their rotate, they're taking out these legendary charges and just holding them out. However, because they're on the backside of the zone, they're running into just an absolute wall of AR fire, and it's all going to come down to Sick with this legendary charge. Antarak has a little bit of help right next to him, but he's at sub 20 HP. Sick eats a huge pump shot there. Gonna pop a jellyfish, taking that bite, gonna get a little bit of shield going through as we're closing in on our top 10. 28 players remaining, 11 trios left, the top third of the lobby as we close our 6th circle. And Nas taking out Mitro there. You can see Snap gonna pick up Antarex, so Sick is all by his lonesome.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. Where is Mongrel? Mongrel, no, we all know the trio lands here, and they had a strong height advantage. They went down to height to pick up some elims, but as you're seeing, is they may be a battle for height right now, but we're going to take a look at the mid-ground as Slick's trio is going out, but there it is. They look at height, and it is actually Miro. Miro, Snap up there, and Swag as Mexi in the mid-ground. Look at the chaos. This is what we're talking about. The mid-ground is so chaotic, and as we're seeing, the zone 7 pulls off the mountain and down the elevation, so the mid to low ground is going to be so stuck and so catacomb. So many boxes are going out. So many grid points are going out. As you see the elim feed picking up, and that is height right now cooking. Nate goes down, and all the people that I'd have to do is we're taking a nice look right now is just build right over that and maintain this height endurance, and the stamina is strong. And you're seeing this zone here, Sundown. Stark Industries people that are landing, the Mongrels, the Snap Miros are benefiting from zone pulling their way.
And if it pulls back over, then that's just effectively GG, go next. There's absolutely no way they'll end up losing. And luckily for the rest of the lobby, it's pulling actually just down and away a little bit more. They're still going to have priority on the rest of the zone. However, you can see Mexi and Astro trying to go to work on the low ground. They already have 7 elims across the rest of the team. Mexi trying to find an angle, getting some AR fire, find some Dolphins in the low ground who are out of builds based off of how they're moving, and some brilliant gatekeeping going on here. That's Patrick going down for the full elimination. They'll take 5th place as we're closing in on key placement points coming through here. Mexi gonna dip out into the storm for a second. That's 1, 2, 3 storm ticks he takes, as well as a pump shot to put him at 53 HP, but able to get back to Astro. He's gonna pop those minis to put him right above the 100 HP threshold, and we have our top 4.
Here we go. We're getting closer. It is zone 9 closing time. And down goes Mexi. And look at it. The dominant hold of height. They have to make their way down to avoid that fall damage. But a team of Snap, Michael, and W Key, who are having a phenomenal performance as well, who are landing as far as down in the southwest area. And they get a big time elim on Teak. And now they're becoming the Dolphins down low. And already the split is on as Swag is sitting up at height. And Miro gets sent down there. But down goes Snap. Oh, there goes the play for height. Can he connect? Yes, he did. Miro is now has to defend himself. Actually, that was Swag going up there to join his teammate. Big time elim, and we have a 2-time victory royale. Game 1, game 5, going to Snap, Swag, and Miro.
And a good job executing at the end there. Had a little bit of a panic having to use the shockwave to go back, but you can see they were master